Welcome to Help with Natalie Cuomo, the podcast about a girl who just can't help herself.
Welcome, you guys, to another episode of Help with Natalie Cuomo. I'm super excited. This week, our topic is fitness, health, wellness, everything healthy. I am super excited. We have some amazing guests in studio today. We have personal trainer of 11 years, founding trainer on The Mirror, and he also loves Levain cookies. Welcome, Gerren Liles.
What's up? Good to meet you.
Good to meet you. And we also have Miriam Fried. She's a personal trainer of 7 years, founder and head trainer of MF Strong. How's it going, Miriam?
Hi, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
How are you guys?
I feel like, what is it, like 11 o'clock, and I've worked practically a whole day.
That's like fitness hours. It's like nighttime, basically.
Yeah.
Wow, it's so funny. It's the opposite of comedians. When I have comedians in here at 11 a.m., they're like, it's so early. And you guys are like,
We've
ready
already
for it.
trained 4 clients, worked out. Like,
Yes. Taught a
Oh
class.
my God. What time do you guys start your day?
4:30.
so pre-pandemic, I was up at like 5 a.m. And since the pandemic, I've been able to like have a little more of a flexible schedule, but sleeping in is usually like 6:45, 7.
Wow.
Yeah, I teach classes on The Mirror as early as 6 a.m. And I live in Jersey, so I have to wake up at 4:30 and haul ass to get to Port Authority and then get to the studio by 5:30 to mic and prep and all the other stuff. So,
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And what time do you guys go to bed?
bed, what's that?
I mean, I shoot for like 11 on a good day, but that usually means like in bed at 11, like scroll through my phone, you know, like
Yeah.
push off until like midnight or so,
Right.
you know.
Same.
But naps though.
Naps are
Naps
important.
are really important.
See, I wish I could take naps, but I live in Jersey and work in the city, so I never really get to get home. And then I get home, I get into bed at 10, and then I scroll Instagram, FaceTime people until like 11:30, and then back up at 4:30.
That's rough.
It's very rough.
So I always like to start the podcast asking the best advice you've ever received. Gerren, do you want to go first?
The best advice that I've ever received, I guess it would be professional, and that is to look to skill sets outside of the industry that you're doing and find a way to incorporate it in your own. So just to take you, for example, as a stress reliever, I've been actually watching a lot of comedians just to kind of take my mind away, and then realizing that comedians actually practice their craft, identify when to make certain jokes, their tones, their inflections, to, make a joke successful. And, when I'm teaching my classes, I have to be engaging, I have to be funny. So like, maybe if I change my tone or draw something out when I'm teaching, it'll help to make me more entertaining during class. So just, looking at what everyone else is doing and figure out how can I steal that for myself.
Interesting. So kind of taking things from other I mean, that's cool. I like that. Because, I feel like on my podcast, I was starting to have a lot of comedians on. And then I'm like, wait a second. I feel like I need to have people from different fields. And there's so much to draw from all of these different industries, regardless of if that's not the industry you're in. And that actually helps and enlighten you more.
Absolutely.
That's great advice.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Miriam?
So I'm going to preface this by saying that I was raised by a therapist. So like my entire childhood was basically getting a lot of advice that I just didn't want to take. And then becoming an adult and being like, oh yeah, I probably should have listened to that. So I'm going to share a piece of advice from my mom, who is a therapist. But she's really big on like the idea of like filling your own cup before you pour into others, which is definitely a lesson I've learned the hard way, especially in the fitness industry where like you're constantly, there's this pressure to like be going all the time and teaching more classes, taking on more clients, and just like pouring all of it out to other people. It's very easy to get burned out very quickly. And then you just, you can't do your job. And I feel like this also bleeds into the idea of like fitness in general, because I think for a lot of people when they get really overwhelmed in life, fitness is like the first thing to go, and they don't focus on themselves in that way. They don't give themselves that time, which it totally makes sense. Like obviously like people have other priorities and fitness takes the back burner, but I also feel like sometimes people underestimate how much like 10, 20, 30 minutes of just moving can help fill your cup, like help make you feel better and function more optimally.
Nice. That is great advice. So like it's like RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? I like that. You got to fill your cup first. And what part of fitness do you feel like, how much of filling your cup for the average person do you think fitness plays a role in?
I mean, I feel like it's very dependent person to person. I mean, I know there are some people who are literally like, if I don't do something to move today, I'm just not going to feel great.
Right.
And then there are some people where it's like it's a major win for them if they're able to work out like once or twice a week, take a 30-minute walk twice a week, like something simple as that. I think it's all very dependent on the person, where they're at in their own life, what their kind of personal priorities are, their goals are. I don't think fitness is like a one-size-fits-all thing for anybody. I definitely see it as like kind of like a personal journey. So yeah, I feel like it varies a lot person to person.
I feel like the irony is that most people don't know what it means to feel good in their skin, because when you're used to your schedule and being who you are and you know, being stressed and tired and running around and all that other stuff, like once people start to take the time to like, okay, to sleep more, right, or to work out and feel the endorphins, or realizing after working out for a month, 2 months, how certain things in their life are a lot easier to do, like running for the train or picking up their kid when they used to struggle with it. Now they can carry them down the block. I feel like once people start to realize the benefits of it, then they prioritize it a little bit more, and then they may flow to the other side of the spectrum, which is where we need to slow them down and teach them recovery and, you know, other practices to make sure that there's longevity in their lives, as opposed to just being able to go hard for that particular moment and then end up flaming out, getting injured and things like that.
As someone that is very into immediate gratification, and I feel like that's a product of our society for sure, right? I feel like it's hard to motivate myself to get into fitness, because it's like, well, I want the body that I want now, and I'm not in the place in terms of like strength that I want to be. So how do you like navigate like knowing that it's going to take a long time to get to the place that you want your body to be in? Like, how do you have that patience and how do you have that motivation when you know that it's going to take a while? Do you feel like that's a problem that a lot of people encounter?
Yeah, absolutely. People are very all or nothing when it comes to pretty much everything, but especially around fitness.
Right.
You know, you'll see people who go into this phase where they like want to work out every day. They're super hardcore. They go on extreme diets. And then 3 months later, it fizzles out and they're doing absolutely nothing.
Right.
So my focus with my clients is always on like finding that middle ground, like sustainable. Can you do this for the rest of your life and feel like it's pretty doable? And that's kind of what we're looking for. And I'm also I'm not focused on like aesthetic goals with my clients as much. I think people tend to be they're very result oriented.
Yes, exactly.
And for me, it's so much more about the process. Like, are you doing workouts you enjoy? Are you feeling good while you're doing them? Are they adding something to your life rather than taking away from it? Do you have goals that have nothing to do with what you look like? Ones that you can probably accomplish in a shorter span of time that we can focus on, just to kind of keep that momentum going and feeling like you are accomplishing something, rather than like focusing only on that grand goal of I want to lose 30 pounds or like I want to be able to do 10 pull-ups. It's like it might be a while before you get to those things. You may never get to those things, and that's okay. So what can we focus on right now in the moment, and how can we make it fun, enjoyable, sustainable?
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, it's not even just the fitness and the workouts themselves, because you can work out and do that correctly, and then other areas of your life and your day-to-day routine derail all the benefits that you get from the working out, for example, like eating, for example, not resting. So James Clear wrote a really good book about, it's called Atomic Habits, and essentially looking at your day and your routine and being able to structure your life in a way that mitigates setbacks, fallbacks, or whatever, and kind of puts you on the path to success. So, for example, you know, I work out rather intensely, but like I said, I love Levain. Okay, so like if I know that I need to check my diet, I am not going to teach a class, for example, at a gym that is near Levain, because I know that when I leave the gym, I'm going to mosey right on over there and get me a cookie or 2 or 3, right? And then kind of derail everything. So as much as it is about the fitness and, you know, either setting the goals, day-to-day goals with what you want to accomplish with your fitness, you also got to look at the rest of your life, because like you said, fitness is a marathon. It's not a sprint, and other things play a role in you achieving your goals.
So how important is diet in coordination with fitness and workout? Like when you have a new client, how much of your conversation is about diet versus workout?
So, I mean, personally, I'm really big on like scope of practice. I feel that a lot of trainers work outside of that and they're giving people like very rigid meal plans. And legally, we're actually not supposed to be doing that unless you have an additional nutrition degree. So I prefer to focus on what I feel I'm expert at. I feel I'm very knowledgeable about, which is the fitness.
Okay.
Granted, like obviously, diet is also important. So I would rather help my clients kind of come up with like a plan of action in terms of like general fitness, general nutrition stuff that goes along with the workouts that we're doing and how they can use the food that they're eating to help our workouts rather than hinder them. And then if they really want that like extreme additional advice, then I have dietitians and people who they're expert in nutrition that I refer out to.
Okay.
And sort of piggybacking off of what I said earlier, like setting small and attainable goals and actions, I think is helpful for people to be able to adapt. So it's like you get, it's like, what is one thing that you can add to your routine as far as your diet? Like, okay,
Right.
This week I'm going to drink more water and that's it, right? You get that going. And then next week you say, okay, I'm only going to have 1 glass of wine during the weekend instead of 12. Right. So it's like there's a lot of common sense that goes into diet. Like, yes, there are all types of like diet plans and all the other stuff, but also if you're eating 20 donuts a week, that's going to derail your fitness habits. So there's a lot of things that people already know just from common sense that they need to change. And so like even without giving nutritional advice, we can look at their routine and say, okay, let's scratch this, let's add this, small things, and we'll continue to build. And then again, if they need more specific plans, refer them to like a dietitian and whatnot. But a lot of people know what's wrong with their routine and what they need to fix. And so they just need to buckle down and fix it.
I have a hard time because like my routine, I don't have a routine in my life. Like I'm a comedian. My life is not consistent. Like I have a boyfriend, so I'm at his house like most days. Sometimes I'm at my house, and like my life is literally all over the place. So I have I don't have like a routine. And so I have a very hard time developing a fitness routine because I don't have a regular routine. I also don't enjoy fitness. I just don't enjoy working out. Like I don't like it. I go to yoga and I like the way I feel afterwards. And I know it's good for me mentally, but I don't like it. I like punching things because I'm an angry person. And my boyfriend and I have done like some like strength workouts. I like going to bar because I want to like work on strength training, and that's like where I feel like I want to improve. But I don't enjoy the pain of working out because I'm so like I'm just not. I don't have that in my body.
Well, I want to speak to that because I feel like I come from a very similar background.
Yeah.
So I have a BFA in acting. Like I was a theater girl growing up, like all about just the arts and performing. I was not an athlete. I was not into fitness. I literally remember being in college and like laughing at people who told me they liked to go to the gym. Because I was like, no one likes to go to the gym. You're lying. Like you're absolutely lying.
Yeah.
And I was very much like wrapped up in this identity of like, I'm not that girl. I am not fitness girl. I don't like the gym. I will never be that person. So I definitely know what it's like to like live in that space. My transition came probably when I actually like someone showed me that, oh, like it's kind of cool to learn how to be strong.
Yeah.
And it feels really good to just like go in and lift weights and then the next week come back and be able to lift a little more. And just having that like kind of personal competition with myself of like, okay, like next week I want to lift this much and the week after I want to lift this much. And it was really exciting to me in a way that fitness had never been. I just had never looked forward to like running on the treadmill. I didn't like spin classes. I tried all of that stuff. It just wasn't really like exciting to me. But the idea of getting strong was really, really exciting and really empowering. Obviously, like once you start to get strong, it feels good. Like it's an awesome feeling, especially if you're a woman who had kind of identified not as that person your entire life. So I feel like a lot of it is finding something you enjoy, because I think there's this idea that I have to do this because someone I know saw results doing that. So I have to try that because they look amazing and I want to do that too. But sometimes it's just about like kind of trying different things. And when you get to something that you're like, oh, I don't hate this, putting a little more time into it and just kind of setting realistic goals about, I'm going to try doing this like once or twice a week, no pressure, 30 minutes.
Right.
And then maybe you'll get to a point where you want to do it 3 times a week or 4 times a week.
I can imagine, like, I guess 2 things. I can imagine, like, being community driven to go work out. Like, I can imagine if I had like a community at like a kickboxing studio to like want to go and see those people. And like, I can imagine that being motivation for me to work out because that's like something that I like. And also another thought that I have is I feel like it's very hard for me to not be aesthetically driven. Like, I think that's the main reason I've always been like, yes, I want to be strong and I want to be healthy. But I think the main thing that comes to my mind personally, and I think a lot of people, is like, I want to be hotter. I want to have a better body. This is like a very aesthetically driven world. I'm in entertainment. Like, I want to be hotter. It's aesthetics. I think a lot of time I've had a very unhealthy like perspective of like, well, I could go to the gym or I could just not eat tomorrow. And it's like, it's very unhealthy, but it's like very hard to not have that perspective. Like, can you guys speak to that? Can you speak to other people that might identify with what I'm saying or me?
Well, for one thing, like, I don't believe that it's inherently wrong for someone to want to work out to look good.
Of course.
Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, obviously, if the motivations behind that are rooted within, you know, trauma, insecurities, or certain other issues,
right,
then that should be addressed. But inherently, you know, I don't like the messaging that you shouldn't work out to look good. You should work out to like whatever. Okay, so I feel like my approach to this is slightly different, and I think it's because of my own backstory. So sort of similar. I was a nerd growing up. Like, I wasn't into working out. I took a weightlifting class my senior year just because I needed it to graduate, and then, you know, started getting muscles. Girls started to like me. It was like, okay, I'll kind of keep this up. But I wasn't really smart about it. And so I only did like upper body, right? Because that's all you can see in the mirror. I did no cardio. And in my mid-20s, I had started like getting sick. My diet was like absolutely horrible also. I started getting sick, and the internet was like just the thing at that point. I started Googling my symptoms, and the 2 things that came up were diabetes and AIDS. And I wasn't the most responsible person when I was dating. So, you know, I kind of thought it might have been like the other thing. And when I went to the doctor's office and he was like, you know, your blood sugar level's getting really high. And I said, yes. And he was like, no, that's not good. And I was like, no, that's because I thought it was something else, right? But he was like, okay, but you're pre-diabetic. You're 27. You know, this should not be happening to you at your age. And I ended up getting a trainer, changed my diet, started working out smarter. Because again, at that time, I was only just doing weights, but started to run. I got into capoeira, which is Afro martial arts. So I started to discover other things that I would like in fitness, right? That would help me to remain consistent. But what it inspired was the notion that I think we as young people take our youth for granted and think that we won't have issues until we get older. And it's like sometimes people need to know, especially with everything that we're seeing in the world around COVID, that being healthy and having a healthy lifestyle is necessary. And, you know, you have to do it. It's like eating your vegetables, okay? And that message may not necessarily resonate with everyone, but looking at the time we're in now with like sickness and obesity and whatnot, it should resonate a little bit more. So, yeah, I kind of take it from that approach when I talk to people like, I don't know if I want to work out.
Right.
You know,
what's the most punk rock approach to being a healthy person?
So when you say punk rock.
No, because it's like, I think a lot of people are like, oh, like being healthy, a lot of people that are young, they're just like, yeah, fuck that. I'm partying. I'm smoking weed. I'm chilling. I'm going to concerts. Like, they're not thinking about being healthy. They're thinking about like just living and being young. I'm like, how do you make being healthy like
sexy?
Like, yeah, like hot and not just like, I think I grew up feeling very like rejected by mainstream culture. And I feel like, so I think a lot of it, maybe similar to what you're saying, your experience in college is like, yeah, I don't go to the gym because people at the gym, they don't like me and I don't like them. Not to take it to such an extreme, but what's an approach to being healthy that's maybe a new perspective on it, that's not just this like cookie cutter approach to fitness?
Well, I mean, I feel like if you have like a performance goal or like something like, I want to be able to do this thing because it looks really cool, or that would be like really fun, or like how cool would it be if I could like run this fast or like do this race and sign up and just be able to like run and feel like actually be able to accomplish that. I feel like that is kind of a cool way to go at it. Or like, I want to be able to knock out like a bodyweight pull-up. That would be badass. That would make me feel really good. And then the food stuff, I mean, it's just like, well, you have to eat. Like, you have to eat to support your goals, right? Like, you can't just be walking around either like starving yourself or like, you know, eating foods that aren't gonna like support that, because you're not gonna be able to do that. So I feel like coming at it from that approach, and yeah, like it's true. Most people have aesthetic goals. Like it's unrealistic to expect that people aren't gonna come in and be like, I want to work out because I want this, this, and this, but I also want to look good. I also want to like see muscle definition, and that's okay. But I feel like the motivation that comes from abs is very fleeting, and I say this as someone who's been like on different ends of the spectrum, been like uber obsessed with fitness to the point where like I got down to a very, very small size. It's very fleeting. Like, it's motivating in the moment, but at the end of the day, your alarm's going off at 5:30, 5 days a week. Abs aren't going to get you up. So you got to have something else behind it. Like, there has to be something else.
What would another thing be?
Another either like performance goal or a health related goal. Like, I want to be able to like run around with my kids. I'm getting tired when I'm like playing with my kids in the playground. I can't like kneel down to the floor anymore. And I want to be able to like have mobility and be able to like get around. I don't want to be out of breath when I walk up the flight of stairs to my apartment anymore. Just like things like that, of like feeling like I feel that I'm not operating at my best, and I want to do the things that are going to help me get there. Like, those have to be a motivator as well. Because the abs, the muscles, they're cool, but like, again, not getting you up to that 6 a.m. alarm every day.
Okay, like, I don't mean to be like philosophical about this, but like, I mean, it's obviously going to boil down to, you know, like a person's individuality in their own life, because, you know, whether or not you have a quote unquote punk rock lifestyle, you are still human. And so you're going to still encounter things in your day to day and within your own body, for better or worse, that everyone else does. And it's also not like we're living in a bubble. So it's not as if someone in that lifestyle is not aware of the importance of, you know, health and wellness and whatnot. And like myself, some people, you know, need to bump their head metaphorically. Some people may need to be pushed to the brink of having an issue, or either seeing something happen to someone they love for them to turn out of it, to get out of it. So, I mean, you know, if we're talking about punk rockers, they're the rebellious type, you know, they're not going to conform to, you know, status quo to begin with. So, I mean, it's not as if the awareness is not out there. So some people sort of just need for life to, you know, let them know that it's real, and then they'll seek out, you know, what needs to happen. I don't mean to sound so dour, but it's reality.
That's actually that's a very good point.
Yeah.
I also feel like because of social media, it is selling like such an extreme. And I think there's this idea that like, oh, if you do the fitness thing, like you're in this box and you're only drinking green juice and you're only like eating grilled chicken breasts and broccoli and you're only exercising 6 days a week. And I feel like there's a pretty big middle ground between like, I can be this person and I can go to concerts and I can drink and I can do whatever, but I can also like a couple days a week enjoy going to the gym and like a few times a week have some vegetables. Like, it doesn't have to be so extreme that I'm either this like wellness person or I'm like this opposite extreme, like don't do that at all. And I feel like we need to embrace that middle a little more. And I don't think social media is doing us any favors in that. So I feel like it's kind of tough.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me go into some listener emails that I received. Let's see, you guys. All right. So someone has asked, and I know you guys said that you don't feel that you're an expert in nutrition, but someone asked, and I thought this was a really cool question. Do you think it's better to have a bunch of small meals a day or one big meal a day?
Honestly, whichever one your lifestyle allows you to commit to.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mean for it to be, I don't mean for it to be a non-answer, but at the end of the day, it's calories in, calories out. So how it's spread, like if I eat a chocolate cake only, for like that's the only thing I eat during the day, I'm going to lose weight because that's all the calories that I'm getting. Whether I eat it in the morning or eat 3 pieces of cake spread out over the day, whatever, it's about however many calories you're doing. So whichever one allows you to remain consistent with the routine. And of course, the diet obviously being healthy and tailored to whatever it is that you're trying to do. Either one is fine.
People try to overcomplicate this stuff, but he's spot on.
So it's not like there's no like one diet.
There's no metabolic difference between like eating a bunch of small meals versus if you're eating the same amount of calories in the same food.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Do what you can adhere to.
Now I like this question. How do I stop being such a fat fuck without having to run? Walking is fine. I walk a lot. Still fat.
You never need to run. Why do you have to run? I mean, find something else that you enjoy. I hate running. You will never see me running ever. So stop forcing yourself to do something that you hate.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, okay, don't run, but there's other stuff you can do. Go dance.
Dancing.
Go dance. Go.
Sex?
Sure, yeah.
It's a lot of cardio in that.
You'd have to do a lot of it. You want to burn like some real calories, but go for it.
Okay, let's do one last question. Can you achieve a great figure without any supplements?
Absolutely.
And how important are supplements?
They're supplements. They're supplementary. So they shouldn't be your primary like focus. I think the problem is people jump to supplements before they have the main part down. So they're like, they don't have their diet down, they don't have their workouts down, but they're already jumping to supplements. It's like, get that stuff down first. And then you can maybe dabble in some supplements, but it's like the most important thing is going to be your workouts and your diet. And people are way too eager to jump to supplements before like they have that stuff down.
Absolutely. And I mean, granted, like whether the availability, I guess, of like certain foods or whatnot may make it necessary for people to seek out supplements like multivitamins, I guess, in particular, or if you happen to be deficient in certain things, and yes, like they're helpful. But if we're talking about supplements as a means for aesthetic goals, like losing weight and stuff like that, get the diet and stuff down. But yeah, I mean, supplements can be very helpful. So
interesting. Okay. And then, wow, you guys, I'm trying to think, do I feel motivated to go to the gym yet? I feel motivated to like, maybe. I feel like,
what do you do when you go to the gym?
I do the elliptical or the treadmill.
Do you like doing that?
No.
Well, that's why.
But I don't like working. I have done a bunch of kickboxing classes and I like that. And I do like going to bar. I like strength training. Or that's that, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't enjoy. I'm not like, oh yeah, this is fun. I do feel fun when I do like punching things. But that's, yeah, I make a lot of excuses for myself, and it's difficult.
Here's part of it. I think that there's this belief that we always have to be amped when we're going to the gym, and that's not the case, right? Like I don't enjoy broccoli. It's not like, oh, broccoli, spinach,
that's true.
Yes,
that's
okay,
true.
but you have an understanding of its importance in your life, and the gym is the same way. Now you've identified certain things that do bring you joy. Okay, so if you do more of that and then occasionally have the strength training and the other vegetables, okay, whereas the boxing is, the desserts in your fitness life, then that's okay. Like no one is saying that you need to love fitness and be inspired all the time. Like we trainers, we're not inspired to go to the gym like all the time, and oftentimes we take other people's classes. We get trainers to train us because every once in a while we want to shut our brains down. We don't want to think. We may not be motivated. So if I pay $40 for a class, damn it, I'm spending money. I'm going to work in here. So like people shouldn't approach fitness with the notion that you have to be gung-ho and excited about it all the time. You don't have to be to start it. And more often than not, once you actually get into it, and the hormones, the blood starts flowing, the endorphins and whatnot, you are going to feel good afterwards. And that feeling afterwards is often enough for most people to like, okay, let's wake up at 5 a.m. I'm going to do this because I know it's going to feel a certain way. So don't go into it thinking you got to be like.
So what is for like an average healthy person between the ages of maybe 20 and 40, how many days a week should they work out?
I'm always so hesitant to answer that because I don't want to say a number and then someone be like, oh, I can only do once a week, so screw it. Obviously, the more consistent you can be, the better.
Right.
But if you really only have once a week to get to the gym, and then I'm going to encourage you to do that and stick with that for as long as you can before you're like, all right, I could probably make it another day.
Right.
It also depends on like what does the rest of your lifestyle look like? Are you working like a busy, active job? Are you like picking up boxes and running around all day, or are you sitting at a desk all day? You have to move your body.
Say like a desk job, average desk job, or retail job maybe. Well, let's do a retail job and desk job.
So,
what's a good amount you should push yourself to go to the gym?
Generally speaking, the CDC recommends that you spend about 150 minutes per week exercising, which is around 22 minutes per day. So quick plug. Okay, so I'm working with Healthline, which is one of the renowned, I guess, health and wellness websites, medical websites, whatever. And they've started a series called Fit It In, which is basically a collection of 22-minute workouts of varying formats, strength training, HIIT, Pilates, yoga, and whatnot, for the everyday person. And I think that's important for people to know too. It's not like when you're ready to start your fitness journey, you have to jump into, high intensity CrossFit class and go and kill yourself, right? Right, exactly. It's like, you can get started doing the bare minimum, right? If you can just dedicate 20 minutes a day. And realistically, most people can find 20 minutes to do something.
You have to change, you have to put your makeup on again.
No, you can do this at home. You can do it at home. And I mean, obviously, hopefully, we're going to shower anyway.
I guess.
So hopefully people will shower anyway. But there's something that you can do. I mean, we're not going to pretend that incorporating a fitness lifestyle is just going to be easy. It is going to require some sacrifice and adjustment in your life. But what in life doesn't? Okay. What are the things in life that we want and desire that don't require, effort? Right. And so this is just another thing. And the thing about fitness is that when you are fit, it makes the rest of your life so much better.
It does.
You look better, you're more confident.
Feel good.
So it's like, this is one of those things where if you just buckle down and work on it, it's going to make everything better. And people realize that once they get into it.
Interestingly enough, I was totally bullied when I went to school when I was younger. And one of the things was when I was in ninth grade, I grew up in New York City, and I was made fun of for the way that I ran to the subway. Everyone was like, oh my God, the way you run to the subway. Like, they just made fun of my face when I ran to the subway, and they also made fun of, apparently I did this with my hands when I ran to the subway. I just always make fun of my face and my hands from how I ran to the subway this one time.
What part of New York?
Queens.
Okay.
So they just always make fun of this all the time. So in gym class, when we had to run, I would run with my hand over my face like this.
Wow.
So I was like,
Kids are cruel.
Kids are cruel.
That trauma stays with you.
The trauma stays with you. I have always felt kind of like I look stupid working out because I don't have good form. I don't know what I'm doing. I like yoga because I've been doing it long enough that I have good form and I know what I'm doing. The teachers correct you and makes me feel comfortable. They're like, I know that I'm doing it right. Other forms of working out, I feel embarrassed because I feel like I'm doing it wrong and I don't want to do it wrong. That's why I almost want that's why the idea of a personal trainer is cool, because it's like they're going to tell you if you're doing it right or if your form is right. But that's not something a lot of people can afford or have the time for. So what's the importance of form? Obviously, the best advice, right, is no one is thinking about you when you're working out. They're in their own world. However, it's like it's a weird thing. I think some people feel, especially people that don't feel comfortable with working out, they feel like I look stupid when I look like a fat guy running, right? Like, how do you get out of that kind of self-consciousness when you're working out?
Wait, can I just say, because you just sort of brought up a childhood trauma. So when I was growing up, my parents ordered clothes from magazines.
Yeah.
So, we didn't get to try them on to see how they fit. And so whenever they bought pants, they were usually very tight. And I would get teased about that in school. And I think that's actually partially why I never cared about my legs when I was training, because I always hid them because I, was traumatized by what happened. But form. I mean, obviously getting a professional with you is important because you don't want to get injured. And, the bottom line is that fitness is as psychological as it is physical. And so you will either need to develop the inner strength to not be concerned with what people think of you. And then if you don't have that, similar to what I was saying about habits, you have to shape your environment in a way that mitigates weaknesses, which means like if you're going to get a trainer or go to a gym, go into a corner somewhere, go somewhere where you can't be seen. But I mean, form is obviously very important, and you need to make sure that you have the basics down first before you go to more advanced movements. Like, don't run a marathon first. Like, okay, I need to burn a lot of calories. Like, let's start with the mile, see how you feel.
Right.
What was that movie? Someone runs a marathon. Jenny runs a marathon. What was the movie?
I never saw it.
Oh yeah, there was a movie like Jenny runs a marathon or something like that. I'm getting the name wrong, but yeah, you want to have someone review your form, start with the basics, and then you can progress and whatever.
Right.
I mean, obviously, you ask
Brittany runs a marathon. Yes. Thank you.
You asked two trainers how they feel about form. Obviously, we feel strongly about form. It's very important. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. However, for people who are feeling like uncomfortable at the gym, firstly, more people in the gym don't know what they're doing than do know what they're doing. So if you walk into a gym, most of the people there probably don't have great form or perfect form because most people don't, because it's technical and it's hard, and most people haven't taken the time to study it like on a professional level. So I think there's this idea that like people are like walk into a gym and everybody's like a professional, knows what they're doing, crushing it. When in reality, I feel like most people are in the same boat of like, I'm kind of a beginner. I'm going to go in and I'm going to try some things. And so yeah, I feel like people overestimate the level of the people around them in the gym. I do have to say, as a woman in fitness spaces, it can be challenging. Like if you're a woman and you've walked into a weight room before, you know that you're usually the only woman there. Right. Maybe there's one other woman. And it's intimidating as hell. So I definitely understand for people who are like, I don't feel comfortable going into those spaces. I'm really big on like knowledge is power. And for me as a woman in fitness and a woman who like spends a lot of time in the weight room around a lot of men, I feel like kind of giving yourself that armor of knowledge is like the best thing you can do. So that might mean you're sitting at home watching YouTube videos of good form and you're learning that and you're ingraining that so that the next time you step in, you feel a little more confident and you start to look around and you realize, oh, I know more than some of these guys. And yeah, so I feel like taking the time to learn, and that could be with a trainer. Obviously, that's great if you can. That might be just through the power of the internet and researching and learning on your own. But yeah, I feel like giving yourself that gift is a huge, huge, leg up when you're stepping into the gym.
Nice. Okay, cool. Thank you guys. All right. Do you want to take a look at some of these vintage videos?
Oh, yeah.
I think the first one is about diet, right? And let's see if this still holds up.
Rich golden butter and milk to drink, combined with other foods, in ice cream and in cheese. But at least 1 quart of milk a day, every day. For fast-growing young people, more than 1 quart. For adults, at least 1 pint. Yes, sir. This is really a day's good eating.
So what do you guys think about milk? Do you think that's right? At least 1 quart a day of milk?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that they pushed milk for calcium purposes, correct? And you can get calcium from many other things.
So you think this is not true?
No, I mean, I think in general, we need to be mindful about whether certain foods are pushed for health purposes or for marketing purposes. You know, you're drinking a whole lot of milk so that you have to replenish and buy more.
Right.
But I also think maybe at that time, there wasn't as much research done on like foods in general and just like health overall to identify how necessary that was. But no, I don't think milk is that.
You guys drink milk? Do you almond, oat?
I'm an oat milk person.
I'm an almond milk person.
Wow. So you guys don't drink milk at all?
We don't.
No.
Why?
I personally, I eat dairy. I didn't grow up drinking milk. Like my brother was lactose intolerant and we drank soy milk before it was cool. So like
explained
the
that before, it was
idea
cool.
of like a glass of milk is kind of gross to me. But
Yeah.
I love dairy. I love ice cream. I love cheese. Cheese
Right.
is like best food group ever. So I'm not like a demonizing dairy person. I just don't like milk.
I see that.
I mean,
get
and
that.
I grew up drinking milk. Like I had cereal all the time. But I also realized that it made me congested, I guess,
Yes.
whatever, it made me congested. And when I stopped, the congestion stopped. And I was like, okay, I should probably. I mean, I don't know what lactose intolerance means.
Right.
But like when I stopped drinking milk, I felt better.
Yeah.
So I am no longer going to tolerate drinking.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel like milk is. I worked in coffee for a long time, and the lattes are just a giant cup of milk with a tiny bit of coffee in it. So I like oat milk. I do. All right, let's look at the next video. It is a old workout method, and I want to know if you guys think this would still hold up.
For those who haven't got the energy to go for 10-mile runs in the country before breakfast to keep fit, we introduce a new streamlined method of exercising that can be carried out at home. Invented and demonstrated by Senor Gabriel Alcova from Spain, Las Picas, as the device is called, are used all over the continent in ballet schools, for remedial exercises, and most important, for slimming.
So what do you guys think of this?
I'm concerned for his lumbar
For
spine,
their debut
to
in
be
this
honest.
country, Las Picas are tried out with a
Well,
few
yeah, what do you
limbering
guys,
up
tell me
movements
about this.
by
I mean,
four
I
lovely
don't know
showgirls from
what
London's
the
Garrick
heck
Theatre.
they're doing, but first I thought it was like a bunch of women that were just going to start cleaning. But then it's like, I mean, are they getting a good workout? Is this safe? What's happening? Should I try and buy one
Okay,
and
so-
reinvent it? What's going
So,
on?
ironically, I feel like that is a precursor to what we like contemporarily use as mobility sticks. So in the gym, there are actual sticks that you twist and turn and use, actually very similar to that now.
Okay.
Like we're not, twisting and wearing our house clothes and doing like all that other stuff, but
I've never
there
seen a
is
mobility stick.
Yeah, they're
It's
at
just
one
literally
gym.
looks like that.
It
It's like
literally
a
looks
long-
like
Is
that.
it
but
attached to
without the-
something?
No, it's just
It's
those
just a stick,
sticks,
yeah.
but it's not attached into the thing.
Okay.
So I mean, what he's doing would be good for mobility
Okay.
training, but like as far as like slimming down or whatever it is that he said, like
What's mobility training?
mobility is just being able to have decent range of motion with all of your joints.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to burn like calories doing that. it's like stretching,
Right.
It's potentially like moving your body through ranges of motion to be able to like overall move better. I'm not sure about like the specific movements he was doing. Some of them, like I was again a little concerned for his low back, his lumbar spine. But yeah, I mean, I've seen worse, but also yeah, you're not burning any major calories doing that.
Because I feel like it was I kind of wanted, it was like, if I could just have this little thing and I could do that's a nice compact workout machine, much cheaper than a Peloton. I mean, I would love,
I mean,
but you guys think no.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, a machine or a piece of product is nothing without the movement that is associated with it.
Right.
So, whatever object allows you to train movement in a safe and effective capacity is good. Now, whatever your goals are, that particular equipment and the movements that you do with it will determine how successful it is. So if I wanted to work on my mobility, I wouldn't do what he's done, but I could use that machine in other ways and other poses to help
Okay.
improve my mobility, but I would not use that to lose weight.
Okay. So are there any like fitness trends, fitness machines that are like very in right now that you guys, like or don't like?
Well, I mean, with the pandemic, keeping people home instead of like going to the gyms, like connected fitness products like the mirror, right? It's just basically things that people can now do at home. And I mean, people are getting weights and building out home gyms and whatnot.
Right.
So it's more or less right now like fitness products that have a technological component, that provides, trainers and artificial technology to, help people not have to think or to, kind of show them the professional and the right way to do things.
Yeah, virtual fitness is definitely the
in right
way
now.
of now and the future probably. But yeah, kind of going off what Gerren said earlier, like a lot of these like super trendy pieces of equipment or machines, more times than not, they're just trends. And the basics tend to be really, really good, and people want to fix it or make it seem like, I don't know, easier somehow by creating some cool piece of machinery. But from my experience, most of those pieces of equipment end up gathering dust in the basement. And usually you never hear about them after a year or two, and there's a reason for that. So I think when it's people try to overcomplicate fitness and workouts, it's not always the most beneficial.
So like one of the things that I say to people sometimes is what would a celebrity that is prepping for a movie or a role or whatever, what would their workout be like? You know, because the studios and, you know, their managers or whatever would not invest in fluff and you know, like trendy stuff. They would like hard-nosed, knowledgeable, credible, bare bone, bottom line things that have always worked, strength training, high intensity interval training, boxing, like just basically the simple things at the end of the day are what's going to get you results, as opposed to just the things that are like fun and flashy and having community and stuff is great. But like if you want results, oftentimes it's the things that have stood the test of time that are going to do it for you.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, guys. Do you want to plug anything? Gerren, do you want to go first? You want to plug your business, your personal training? Like, go plug away.
So, again, my name is Gerren Liles. My phone corrects it to Green. GERRENLILES is my Instagram. I am a trainer on the Mirror. You can find out more about that on www.mirror.co. If you do decide to get one, use code Gerren3, and
They get a discount?
You get a discount.
What's the discount?
I think it's free shipping and then 3 months off your subscription, because it's like a monthly subscription, whatever. And that's essentially it. Find me on the Mirror and on Instagram, and let's work out.
Awesome. What about you, Miriam?
So you can find me on Instagram at Miriam Fried, spelled like fried. And my personal training business is at MF Strong NYC. I have a team of trainers. We work here in New York in person, and we also train people virtually all over the world.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming in. I learned so much, and I'm feeling inspired. So thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for listening to Help with Natalie Cuomo. Tune in next week for another episode. Find us on social media at Help with Natalie.